Some very interesting changes could be coming to Chad Gable, so we'll see what that's about. We'll also check out what's new with Dominik, Rey Mysterio, and more. Starting things off with some upcoming payoffs for Chad Gable. Chad has been one of the focal points of Raw lately and has been on quite the run. His ultimate goal is to either become Intercontinental Champion or World Champion, but in the meanwhile, he does have basically three major storylines revolving around him. First one being obviously his issues with the original Alpha Academy faction. Chad Gable started this faction originally as the tag team with Otis, even winning the tag team titles at one point. And as time went on, the group expanded to welcome in even more new members, with the overall story being that Chad Gable was taking in students and guiding them to be amazing in the ring and learn from him. But when all three of his students were barely showing any signs of actual development, and his own career did not start to go anywhere as well, it caused something with Chad Gable to snap, and he became a verbally and nearly physically abusive leader to this little family that he put together. That's Chad Gable's original storyline. The second storyline he was involved with involves the Creed brothers and Ivy Nil. Chad Gable was seen privately talking to those individuals several times over the last few weeks, causing conversation to spark about a potential Alpha Academy 2.0 involving all these new superstars Gable was in communication with. And now with his latest developing story is obviously the target being put on his back by Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six. The actual first target of the Wyatt Six is a bit ambiguous right now. They've thrown teasers out there that they were after Chad Gable, Pat McAfee, and Adam Pearce. So it looks like they're leaving it a bit up in the air for when it comes to who the group is actually coming for first. But due to getting affected by the massacre and then having Nikki Cross chase him out of the ring, it does look like Chad Gable is near the top of the list of targets. So that's a scary and big problem for Chad Gable. And the June 24th edition of Raw showed just how affected Chad Gable was from the Wyatts. After getting chased out of the ring by Nikki Cross, Chad Gable jetted backstage looking for the Alpha Academy's locker room. He knocked on the door and apologized to the group for the way he was acting, and tried to blame it on the fact that they're family and how families fight from time to time. Was Chad Gable being genuine with his apology? Of course not. Chad Gable didn't mean a single thing about his apology. It was just him trying to protect his own back end from the Wyatts by surrounding himself with more bodies around him for extra protection. But Otis stays firm on his original stance from a few weeks ago and says that the group is done with Chad Gable and wants nothing to do with him. After Otis walks off, Maxine Dupree sticks around and appears to show some empathy towards Chad Gable, telling him to just give Otis some time and maybe he'll change his mind. This little gesture here by Maxine Dupree does say a lot about her character. Despite all the harmful things Chad Gable has said and done to her in recent weeks, Maxine still feels for him as a person and looks like she would be willing to see him back leading the Alpha Academy. But obviously, it's not up to Maxine to make that call. It looks like Otis is now leading the Alpha Academy, so it'll be up to him to make the ultimate call on Chad Gable. But after the Alpha Academy locker room door is closed on his face, Chad Gable didn't have to wait that long to find a backup plan. Once the Alpha Academy was out of the segment, the Creed brothers and Ivy Nil could be seen asking Chad Gable if he needs help. So it looks like WWE is about to pull the trigger on Chad Gable forming this Alpha Academy 2.0 with the Creed brothers and Ivy Nil, who don't actually have bad history with Gable and want to genuinely team up with him. Chad Gable will be getting back the same amount of bodies that he had back in the original Alpha Academy. He would also be getting 2 male superstars and 1 female superstar in his group. And it looks like this will be the team that Chad Gable goes to war with against the Wyatt Six. Ivy Nil will be looking to cancel out Nikki Cross, and then you could have Gacy, Loomis, and Rowan taking out the Creed brothers and Chad Gable. If Uncle Howdy's going to get active and compete as well, he'll be looking to go after Chad Gable for sure. So it seems like a pretty balanced matchup on paper between the two groups. But considering that this is the Wyatt 6 debut feud, we have to assume that they'll absolutely mop the floor with this Alpha Academy 2.0. That appears to be where this story's headed. Chad Gable got his backup, but how effective will they actually be against Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt 6? The June 24th edition of Raw was a very good show for the Dominik and Liv Morgan storyline. One of the show's biggest moments for the storyline outside of Liv Morgan basically bringing back the tag team titles to the Judgment Day was Dominik Mysterio accidentally winning Liv Morgan's heart over even more by attacking Rey Mysterio after he put his hands on her. This is a moment that just threw Liv Morgan head over heels for Dominik Mysterio, and she looked at him as him not only standing up for her and being her hero, but doing it towards his own father for her, which made her even more speechless about this entire matter. So now the question becomes, how will Liv Morgan win Dominik Mysterio over, or at least start the process of winning him over? Well, the July 1st edition of Raw appears to have a golden opportunity for Liv to make this happen. Rey Mysterio teased on Instagram that he'll be coming after Dominik Mysterio to beat him down next week on Raw. So, whether that turns out to be a match or not, it sets up the perfect opportunity for Liv to impress Dominik. If Liv can somehow, someway, stop Rey Mysterio from attacking Dominik, this has to give her some good points in Dominik's book. And if Dominik and Rey ever meet in the near future for a one-on-one match, and Liv Morgan actually helps Dominik Mysterio defeat his father in the middle of the ring, that should really do the trick and win her over with Dominik. One of the most popular traits about Dominik's character is the hate and despise that he has for his father, and they've only met in 2 matches so far. Rey and Dominik met one-on-one at WrestleMania 39, which Dominik lost to Rey. And then they met a year later at WrestleMania 40 in a tag team match that Dominik also came out on the losing side end to Rey Mysterio. Dominik is still looking for that sweet first win over his father. So if Liv Morgan somehow helps Dominik Mysterio score his first pinfall victory over his father, Rey Mysterio, that would be something huge. She'll basically be assisting him in one of the most desired goals ever. So something like that would be the event that maybe opens up Dominik's eyes on Liv Morgan. Maybe he'll sit back after that win and think, well, Rhea Ripley has never helped me defeat my father. And that could just lead towards a whole spiral downfall of Dominik falling for Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan doesn't look like she's going anywhere and isn't leaving Dominik alone anytime soon. It actually looks like she's turning up her antics every single week until he cracks. But that's absolutely one way for Dominik to quit the act and actually appreciate what Liv Morgan is doing. If she helps him defeat Rey Mysterio in a match, that should really be the enticing incident for their pairing, because that should mean a lot towards Dominik Mysterio. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.